Good morning. Do you have any question for this class so far? Any question?
None so far.
Okay, so anyway, I want to review a little bit about the homework. So basically, you see that we have the 2 weeks with the homework, not much work. So we have a lot of time. That's why I want to spend time with you to work with the homework review here. So basically for every program, right? So in the last class, we already mentioned that for every program, try to have the good practice with programming by include the header comment or inline comment also, right? Header comment or inline comment. Okay. So yes, I know that some of the program here is very simple, right? But it's very simple. But anyway, from now on, for every program, try to integrate the header command and inline command. So in the header command, what you have in header command, normally in the header command, you will have the name of the program, right? The author program is you, the version of the program, and the date of the last revision. And is this very important here is summary of the goal of the program, right? So even that is very simple program, but try to have the good habits of the programming by including the header command and the inline command in every program from now on. That is my first suggestion. The second one here, normally we learn about programming, and normally for the program, right? After you have the header command, is the next step you declare for the global variable and constant here. The constant the value will never ever change during the program. Right? That is constant. Constant, that means never ever change. So basically, for the constant of the every program, you should put at the top of the program here after the header command, and normally for every constant, you give it the name and you write it in the uppercase letter. That is a good programming technique. Habit you work with this one here. So basically for this one here, right? So think about this one here. Yes, you have this. They are here. It's the constant here, right? Because the federal rate is only 0.05 and state rate here is only 0.07 here. So you put it, but it should be better that you put everything in the uppercase, right? So you have the federal here. Right, so we put it right here. It should be better for it. Now, if you look on this program here, so let me go back to this one, right? So now my second suggestion is that for any constant here, you put it at the top of the program and you put it in the uppercase. It's very easy for someone to follow, and even for you, if you have a long program and complicated program, it's very easy for you to follow with the constant name here. So let me go back with this one. I do want to change here. Now, if you look on this program, what do you think here? You already has initial the path with the 0.05 and state with 0.07 here. Why you use this again here? Right? So in this case here, what is it? Let me see. So in this case, in the program, they call this one. Sorry, that's you. So in this case, this program, they call it the magic number. Normally they call it the magic number. The magic number. What is the magic number? Magic number, that means it's a number that program try to get in quantity. Right? Or it's a magic number. They call it the magic number, or sometimes they call it the unnamed constant. Right? So try to avoid using the magic number and try to avoid using the unnamed constant. So think about this one here. One you already initialize the pair with 0.05. Why don't you use it here instead of putting 0.05 here? Right? So now you can see for this one I can set it here. I can set the path here. Let me clear it from this one here. So basically for every constant, right? For every constant, you put it in the uppercase and you initialize the beginning of the program. And so see, when you initialize the failure rate and the state rate is 0.05 and 0.07, you do not use a magic number anymore, right? You do not use the unnamed constant anymore. So basically for this one, you just replace this one here, failure rate with this one. And a state rate with this one here. Okay, so by doing this, right? So if you think about, if you have a complicated program, if someone want to follow up the program, that you look it up, here's the income time failure rate. He understands that failure rate here is instant, right? Sorry, it is constant. And if you want to know what is constant here, you see, he has the better idea what is the failure rate here, right? Instead of 0.05. Right? And if you want to know what is the value of the failure rate, is that come back to the top of the program. It's where you initialize all the constant here. It makes sense? Okay, so try to have the good practice with programming. That the first one includes the header command. The second one, you declare the global variable and you initialize all of the constant at the top of program. And normally for the constant, you put every in the uppercase here, right? And do not try to not use the magic number or unnamed constant during the program. That is my second suggestion. The third one is that for the variable name, I mentioned it on the last slide. For the variable name, try to use a meaningful program. Try to use meaningful variable here, right? So in this program here, instead of using the R and H here, you can use radius or height here to make it more sense for the end user, right? So yes, again, this is very simple program. But again, if you have a complicated program, try to make the variable meaningful. Giving you the meaningful name here, right? So instead of using R, you put the radius, and instead of using H, you put it the full name with the height here to make it more sense, right? That is my third suggestion for program. And the user prompt for the input. What is the prompt for input here? What I have to. Yes, this one also. So if you look on this one, if you run the program, right? So if the run program, you think about this one here. After you enter the radius and the high and the radius, where my stylus?
On the left of the keyboards.
Keyboard?
Yeah, isn't it on the left side?
Left? Here, okay, thank you. So basically for this one, right? Now think about if you, after you got the radius, you have the number 10, and you have high number 20, and you got the silent volume is resume that is 200 here, right? So what do you think? What you have for the output here? What do you have for the output from this program? If you do the all calculation and you have the 200 here, so when you bring this one here, right, the output is already the number 200 here. You have no problem. You have no. It's not really make sense to the end user here. You got my point? So you see that instead of using the only output is the value of 200 here, you can tell the user that the volume of the what is it? The volume of the cylinder, right? The volume of the cylinder is 200. It makes more sense. Or you can make it more sense by using the echo input. So what is the echo input? The echo input, that means you get the name from the input, sorry, you get the value from input, you bring it into the prompt to the output to make it more sense. Now think about this one here. You can instead of you print out the only number 200 here, now you write the volume cylinder, right? Cylinder. with I think it should be better. I open the let me copy this one. Oh, I cannot copy this one. Okay, let me do this one. Is this one? So we can see what is the equal input here. So see now if you look on this previous example, right? He just printed out the volume here. The print out the volume here. Of course, I also have some suggestion with this one. I also have some comment with this one. So for this program, right, you already convert the R here to float. That's the first step, right? You already convert the R here to the float and H here to float. Why this step you need to convert it one more time to float here? It's not necessary, right? You don't need it here anymore. The thing about this one here. You see, for this step, right? You step here, it will convert to the float for the R here. And for H, it will convert to the float for the H here. So why do we need to convert it one more time? This one, it's not necessary for this one. Also, why do you need to convert one more time here? Not necessary, right? So basically for this program, I want to change it here. And I do not want to use the float here anymore. But you already convert it here. So now see, when I run it, right? When I run it here, let me save it. 10. So think about 20 here and 10 here. So see, that is exactly the output here. What is this? Where you cannot see the output for this one.
Volume needs to be converted to string.
No, that's okay. So see, the output here, right? It's only one output. It not really make sense to the end user, right? So it should be better that the good practice the program is that you have to use a prompt in the output. You have to use a prompt in the output. And the prompt in the output, you can make it very simple by include some of the text here, right? So we put it the volume of a cylinder, right? That's all. It's okay. Yeah. So you see, it makes more sense. It makes more sense when you run it here. Right here. Okay. Now, the next step I suggest is that use the echo inputs. So when you use the echo inputs, that means you bring the value of the input into the prompt of the output here, right? So now I can change this one here. I can change this one if I use the add function here, right? So the volume of the cylinder with the radius. I put the value of the radius here. This one, we put it what is here. H, right? So I put it here to make it more sense for this one. So what if you look on this one here, right? So that's they call it the echo input. So echo input, that means you got the value of the input here. Sorry, echo, right? You got the value of the input, and you got the value of input. You bring it into the prompt of the output here. to make it more sense to the end. Right? So see, now if I run the program here, right? If I run the program here, I run this program again. So I have the 20 here, I have the 10 here, and you take it out, right? You take it out here. You see, you take it out, the volume of the cylinder with the radius of 20, it got it from the input, right? And the height of 10 here, it got it from the input. It makes more sense, right? So that is a summary of my suggestion when you work with the program, even that they are very simple program, but try to include the header command and inline command in your program. And put for every constant with the name, and normally the name you have, sorry, for constant you have initialize at the beginning of the program, and you put everything in the uppercase. That's the second one. For every variable name, try to make it more sense with the meaningful name, right? The fourth one here, you use the prompt in the output, and the fifth one is optional. You can use the echo input, and you integrate it into the output prompt here. Any question? Hello? Okay.
And so far.
No questions.
So, okay, so if you do not have any question, let me go with the I think this is okay. Go with the slide for the chapter 3 here. Okay, so in the chapter 3, we learned something about the selection and loop. So basically, for the every program, you have the 3 basic structure, right? The first one is a sequence. Sequence, that means you do everything in the order, step 1, step 2, and step 3 here. Right? So basically, for every program, you use a 3 basic structure here. The first one is sequence. The second one is a selection. And the third one is loop here, right? Yeah. So sequence is everything in the order. You just do it, everything is from the top to the bottom to the button here, right? The selection, you break it down into branches. I break it down into branches, and the loop, that means you do it again and again and again. So basically, for every program, it is the combination of all of the 3 basic structure here. Right. So the sequence is very simple. We did it right, and now for the today we learn something about the selection and the loop. The selection statement allows the computer to make the choice. That means you might have 1 choice or 2 choice or 3 choice here, or so on, right? And the based on the condition. So basically, to do with the selection, you remember that for to do with the selection, you only have the condition here to check. You only have the condition to check, and the output of the condition here, it might be true or false. Right? So basically, the value of the condition here is a Boolean value. It only has the 2 output here, yes or no, true or false. That's all, right? And for the selection statement, you might have the if statement. They call it the single alternative. Single alternative. That means you check the condition. If yes, you do something, right? And move on. And if no, you do nothing and move on. And that's a single alternative. And for the if and else statement, they call it a dual alternative. Dual alternative, that means you break it down into 2 branches. Right? If yes, you do something. If no, you do other thing. Right? So I think that for the selection, remember that you only have the condition here to check. You only have the condition here to check, and the value of the condition is a Boolean data, yes or no, or true or false. Right? So basically, for the in the condition, you can use the combination operator here. You check it equal or not. You check it not equal. Check less than, greater than, less than or equal, or greater than or equal. That is something you put into the condition here. So the simplest form of the selection is the if statement here. And so we see if you check the condition, if you check the condition, yes, you do something. If not, you do nothing here. So basically, you see when you work with the Python, it's not this one, this one. So basically, when you work with the Python, you have to you keep in mind that you have to use the indent, right? So see, after you have if and you have that column here, you have to indent it. You have to shape it into one line. So basically, when you work with the integrated development environment or IDE, you do not have to do indent here because they automatically do it for you, right? So see, when you put if and h greater than or equal 18 and double column here, and then hit enter, it automatically indent to you. But remember that when you work with the node space or any other word processor, right, you have to keep in mind that after the if and the double column here, you have to indent it into the right here. So the structure is very simple, right? You have the if and check the condition here. Here is the condition to check, right? Here is the condition to check it. So here is the condition to check. And the output of the condition here is yes or no. If yes, you do something. If no, you do nothing for this one. If you no, you do nothing for this one here. So what happened if I enter the number 20 here? What do you have?
Then it would print out you are eligible.
You are eligible to vote. So if I enter the number 10, what happened?
No output.
Yeah, nothing. It's nothing because it's a single alternative here. So that keep in mind that for any selection, you only have the condition to check. You only condition to check, and the output of the condition here is yes or no. So yes or no. Right? And that is about the single alternative. And the dual alternative. For the dual alternative, you have the if and else here. A two-way selection. If yes, you do something, and no, do other thing here, right? So basically, the structure also the same. It's very simple here for this one, right? So we break it down in the two branches. If h greater than or equal 18, you are eligible to vote. Else, right? So what happened if I enter the number? What happened if I enter number 18 here? What do you think? What I have for the output?
Should say you are eligible to vote.
Yeah, right. Because this one greater than or equal here. And if I enter number 10, of course, this one is not correct, right? So we have to move to the another branch, and you print out you are not eligible to vote here. Now, okay. Now we move to the multi-way selection here. Now, in the program, it's my face with a testing condition. It's a testing condition that intend more than two alternative course of action. Think about this one. Think about here. You have many choice for this one based on your grade, right? So if you have a grade greater than or 90, you have the A, and greater than or equal to 90 and up to the 90, so 80 and up to the 90, you have B and so on. So now for this one, you are not have only one choice. You are not only have the two choice, but you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 choice here, right? 6, yeah, 5 choice here. So in that case, they call it a multi-way if statement. So basically for this one, you also have you have many ways to do this one. The first one it is to work with okay, so the first one is the long way here. The long way, you break it down, right? If the condition 1 is correct, do something. And check again if the condition 2 correct, do something. And again, check the condition, the last condition here, do something. They call it the long way. So if you look on the long way here, how it works is the long way. You see this one here. This one. Okay, so here's how it works with the long way. So see, we check again, right? Now you got the grade from the end user, right? Now we check if the number here greater than or equal 90, you put A, right? If the number greater than 80 and number less than 90, you put it B here. Okay, and so on. Now, what do you think about this program? What is the problem with the program, and what is it is shortcoming with this program? What do you think? If you look on this program, yes. What do you say?
Regardless of what number you have, as long as it's greater than 60, you're gonna get it. Because every iteration, starting, let's say if you put in 100, it'll go through the first if statement and say that the letter is A, but then it'll also check the second one and it fits that condition since 100 is greater than 80. So then the letter will change from A to B.
No,
More past that.
no, because this one, if you look on this one, you will have N here.
Oh, okay.
Right? You have N.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, any.
Just inefficient because it's not escaping.
Sorry.
Oh, okay, that's another one.
He said it's not escaping the if condition. So it's going to check every single.
Yeah, right. That's the problem is the program, right? So whatever it is, even that you enter the number 100 or number 30, it always have to check for all the condition here. Right? So think that if you have many choices program, it really slow down program. I should think about this one here. If you enter the number 95 for this one, check for this one, right? And letter A here is correct. But again, instead of exit the selection process here, you have to do it again to check this one, check this one, check this one again, and check this one again. Right? It really slow down process program. That's the code. It's a long way. This is a long way with a multi-if here, right? So that is a problem with the program here. That is a problem with the program. So for this one, you see, the problem here is only have to check for all possible conditions to slow it really slow down processing time here. The second way you can do with the multi-way if statement, you netted it here. That means you netted, you put it inside the other one here, right? So think about this one here. You can use it if and else with condition. And if you look on the diagram, you see you have if here greater than 90, if greater than 90. So think about if the user here, think about this one. If the user enters the 95, you check this one, you got the A, you exit the selection process. You do not have to do any the other one here, right? So basically for this one, when you look on the flow chart here, you see that is netted. They call the netted if, right? Because you see they put it inside each other. This one put inside this one, right? And again this one put inside this one, and again this one they put inside this one here. So if you look on the diagram here, what happened here? If he enters the number 95, right? He go with this branch, right? And check the condition. You know that for sure it's A. And you see, you exit the whole process up here, right? It's exit the whole process up here. So when you work with the multi-way selection, when you work with the netted ifs, it's way better in the term of the processing here. Right? So when you work with the Python, remember that when you work with the multi-way selection and netted if here, you have if, elif, and elif, and else here. Right? And one more thing I want to mention it here. One more thing I want to mention it here is that some of you that you do with this one here. If L here, I put it here. If else number greater than or equal, and you put it here. And number less than 90. It's correct, but it's not necessary. Right? It's not necessary. It really slows down the process of program here. And one thing here, you see, if you look here, if the number greater than 90, you only go with this one, right? So for this one, when you work with the greater than 90, that means it only have the option here. Think about this one here. You can make it simple here. You can think about this one. You have the line here, everything from 0. You have the 60, you have the 70, you have 80, and you have 90, and you have 100 here. Now check here. It's a number greater than 90, right? It go everything from here. Right? That's the first one. Now, it's a number greater than 80. That's for sure it's everything from 80 to 90 only. Because if it's greater than 90, it only go with this one only. Right? So basically, you do not have to put and here number less than 90 again. Not necessary. Make sense? Not necessary, and actually it's slow down process because the computer have to check the condition here again. It's not necessary. All right? Okay.
I've got one question on that though. Is the indentation correct on that? Like ifs and else ifs are in the same indentation level?
Yes, the same. In the Python here, it's on the same indent level. Hello?
Okay.
Yeah, you can check it with the program here. You can check it the program here, right? So see, if I run this one, where am I? Okay, so now I think about this one, I have put 95 here. So you see, you got the letter here, right? And if I run again, I have the CTH here, I have the D here, right? So basically, you can do the debug here. So you see, if you put the number, right, you have to put the number 95 here. What happened here? I put the 95 here. What happened, right? See for this one. Now you see, if you go with letter A, right? You go with the letter A here. Print now A, and it skip every other choice, right? It skip every other choice. You see, if you look on the, if you run by the debug mode here, you can clearly see what happened with this one. So whenever you enter the number 95, it automatically gives you the A and it skips every other branches here. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. This one. Okay, so basically, right, just remember that in the selection, you only have the condition to check, and the output of the condition is yes or no, only, right? But basically, in some case, right, in some case, often a course of action must be taken if either of the two conditions are true, right? So even the more than two conditions, right? So think about this one here. You think about you only able to go to the army if you are greater than 18, you are older than 18, and you are strong enough, right? That is they call it the compound condition here. There's only one condition, but you can use the combination of the more than one condition, right? So think about it. If you are only able to go to the army when you are greater than or equal 18 and you are strong enough. So see, they are the compound condition here. Right? So think about this one here. If you look on this, example here, right? So think about this one here. It then enters a number, right? And if the number greater than 100, it's error. Think about this one. If you want to get the grade from the student, right? And of course, the grade of a student is always in the range from 0 to 100. Right? So what happens if you enter the 110 here? If now error grade must be in the range between the 0 and 100 here. And what happens if he enters the negative number? Right? So we get error here. So for this one, right? For this one, you can break it down into the and ifs here. But at the same time, you can combine them together in only one condition only. You can combine them together into the one condition here, right? So see, you can combine both of the condition here. You can combine both the system. Number must be less than 100. Also, number greater than 100. and number less than, sorry, this one all here. It's just all here, not and, right? It's all here. So if the number greater than 100, or the number less than 0, you print out the error rate must be between the 0 and 1 here. So basically, you are totally flexible with the condition. It's only not one condition, but you have sometimes you have to use a combination of more than one selection, one condition here. So you have many examples for that. You have many examples with the combination here. Right? And to understand about the combination of the logical operator and the compound Boolean here, you will have to understand about the truth table. I just recall it's a truth table here. And in that truth table, you can have the AND logic, you have the OR logic, or have not logic here. Right? So AND logic, like you see, in the AND logic, the output is only true when both of the input true. And in any other case, it's only 4 here. It's only 4. Or if you work with the binary, you see that and one and one, you have 1. In any other case, you only have 0 here. Right? You only have the case, you only have 0. So basically, Boolean is true or false, 0 and 1. That's all. Right? So in the truth table here, that remember you only use AND when you make sure that the output is true when both of the input is true. Right? Now, in the case of OR here, or in the case of OR, the output is a 4, only both of the input is 4. In any other case, they only true. And the not of course is the opposite. Right? So basically, they call this a truth table, and you should understand the basic of the truth table here if you want to use the compound logic here. Okay, so here's some of the example, right? If you have A is true and B is 4, so if A and B, that means true and 4, it is 4, right? Because when you use the AND, the output is true when both of the input is true already. Okay, and you can use a combination of the logical operator and with the operator here, and remember that you have the exponential in the Python, you have a double star here, and you have the subtraction, you have the multiplication, division, and remainder. Everything you can do. You are flexible to use in the case of the selection here. What is it? Shortcut evaluation. Okay, you can put them together with this one here. It's not any. Yeah. Okay, now. The testing selection statement, you have some tip here to make sure that all possible branch or the alternative in a selection statement are exercised. So think about this one. If you want to write program, right, and to put the correct number in the correct one here, I think about this one. Let me go back to this one here. If you want to go to write a program, yeah, if you want to write a program for this to convert from the numeric grade into the letter grade here, to make sure that you have to test for all of the branches, right? So you have to make sure when you run the program, you have to test. You have the first one here, you have to enter the number 95. The second one, you have to enter 85 or 73, right? Or 68, right? Or 50 here. You have to make sure that you have to test for all branches to make sure the program runs smoothly for all of the choice here. Right? That's the first thing. When you work the multiple way here. The second tip here. Yes, the second tip here is after testing for all of the action, you have to examine for all of the conditions. So normally, if you have a complicated program, try to run it in debug mode. So in the Python, if you want to run it in the debug mode, you can. If you want to debug mode, right? You think about you want to check for this one, you click the mouse for this one here, and you press the F5 for this one. F5 for this one here. Or actually for this one, if I want to do, I have to set it into the file. I have to set it. Let's start. Okay. So think about the 95. I have A here, right? So if you want to run with the debug mode, with in the Visual Studio Code here, you click the mouse on this one, and you press the file here, F5, sorry, F5. And now see what happened here. I have the enter the 95. So when we work in debugging mode, the program will run step by step. So we have to click the mouse for this one here. You click on the mouse, you see, now you assign the letter to the A, and what happened? You skip every other one. So we clearly see what happened with the program when you run with the debugging mode here. Okay. That condition will contain the compound here, the very compound. If you use a compound condition, you have to make sure that you have to check for all the conditions, right? So you have to use the AND logic. I think about you use the AND logic, you have to check for all the 4 possibilities here, right? So if you use the AND logic or the compound logic in the output, you think about this one here. Let me give you what's this? I think this one. No, not this. What is this? New share here. Think about if you have a program that you check you are only able to go to the army if you are age here, if age greater than or equal 18 and strong, right? Strong, and you are strong. And you use the AND logic here, right? So you know that in the AND logic, to make sure you have to tap for all of the 4 choices, right? So what happened if the age greater than 18 and he's strong? What happened if age greater than 18 but he's not strong? Right? What happened if age less than 18 and he's strong? And what happened if the age less than 18 and he's not strong? So remember that when you work with a compound logic, you have to tap for all of the scenario in every single logic case. Yeah, one more thing is about the range function here. You use this a lot in the Python. Use the range function a lot in the Python. So in the Python, they have the built-in function, it's a range, and you have the start, a stop, and a step here. And if you look on the parameter value here, remember that stop is always required. Stop is always required, but the start and the step, they are optional. So basically, if you use a range function here, it's start and stop. It will generate the number starting from the start, come all over to stop. But remember, not include stop. Remember that it not includes the stop. And the step here, step is might be increased by 2, by 3, by 5, or decreased by -2, whatever it is. It's totally up to you. Right? And if you do not have the value for the step, by the default, it's always number 1. Right? So one thing I have to remind again that when you use the range here, remember it all work from the start stop, but not include stop. That is some of the common mistake. Some of you make a mistake when you work with the range here, right? So basically, you can practice with the Python here. You can practice with the Python if you want to print it out. If you want to print it out. Put it here at equal to range 10, sorry, 0, 10 here. Now, see, if I have only one number here, it is stop. Right? Stop is always required. I do not have the start and step here. So in that case, that it will generate every number from 0. Remember that if you do not have the start number, it always generates from the number from 0 to come all over to the number 10. But not include the number 10. And if you do not have step here, by the default, step is the number 1. Right? So basically for this program, it will generate the number from 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and 9 here. Right? So you can check it by pre-nactive. Sorry, I have what is 4. I need to 4 here. 10 here. I print up here. So see, it generates all the number from 0, come all over to the stop, but not include the stop. Right? And of course, I can make the step here. I can make this step as this one. 20. And I change the step here, number 2. So what do you think? What I have for this one? What I have for this one?
Can't really read.
Yeah, what's the number? It's behind the bar.
Oh, it's 10 and then 2. There we go.
So what I have for the output? What do you think?
Shouldn't it be
0,
all day?
2, 4, 6, 8.
Yeah, that's all right. Oh, this is actually no number here. So I think that for this one, whatever
Oh, wait,
you have to put 0 here.
yeah.
Yeah. So in that case, so whenever you use a step, you have to put the start here. I think. Yes, right? Okay, that's a good point. Okay, so basically that's something I remember that for the range. By the default, if you do not have the start, it's starting from 0, right? Come all over the stop, but not include the stop. And if you do not have step, by the default, step is number 1. Right? And of course, you can start from any number. You can start from any number here, right? Think about this one, you can start from any number. Think about this one, you have negative 20 here, right? So you print it out everything from the start number, right? Come all over the stop, but not the loop. And of course, also you can print it out in the decreased order. It's not only right. So think about you want to print out everything from 10 to 20. From 10 to 0. And you have a negative 2 here. Step here is negative 2, right? Okay. So you see it's over. Starting from the start number, not include the stop number, and you have step of negative 2 here.
What happens if the start number is above the stop number and the step is just 1?
You have nothing.
It prints nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, you can add it here.
We got that on the first one.
Yeah. So yeah.
Oh,
It was
that's why.
starting at 10 and then trying to put it to fighting.
Yeah, yeah,
And
right.
it just died.
Okay, so it just stopped.
Yes.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Okay, that is the range function. So basically, the range function is very useful when you work with the loop, the for loop here. We learn about the for loop later. Okay, so basically we just finish about the selection. We just finish about the selection. So remember that for the selection, you only have the condition here to check, and you might have the single alternative, you might have the dual alternative, or you can have the multiple selection. You have the multiple selection. As if, else if, else if, and else if. And remember that you only have the condition to check, and the output of the condition is always yes or no. And in the condition, you can use the compound condition, you can combine them together. So now we move to the loop. The loop is so I think it's not only about the data here. I think I should change for this one to loop. Now, you know loop, right? So loop is action you do it again and again, right? And of course, if you want to do it again and again, you always have the condition to check, right? If at some point you want to exit or not, you cannot run it forever. They call it endless loop or anything loop, right? So for the loop also, it is action of repetition. Repeat an action here, and for each time the program do it, the code is the pass or iteration. They call it iteration here. And normally you have the two type loop. Normally you have the two type loop. The first one is the definite loop. The first one is the definite loop. That's those that repeat the action with the predefined here. Predefined. That is the predefined. Predefined number of time or the definite iteration. So think about, I have class with a 9 student, right? 9 student, and I want to get the grade of the 9 student. I can do the loop, and I know for sure the number of students is the 9 times, right? So I know for sure I need to do it for 9 times a week. Right? So that's the case they call it the definite loop. Sorry, a definite iteration or predefined number of time. Or in some case, you just want to do it. So think about, I have a class. I do not know for sure. I have 100 or more than that, right? But I just want to grade for the first one, the second one, the third one, until the last one. So I just do it again and do it again and do it again until the last one. So in that case, the call is undefined. Is that what I say? Okay, so they call it indefinite iteration. Now, think about this one. I have the two examples here. And you can see the difference between the definite and indefinite here. So for this program, here, for this one here, it's very simple program, right? So I want to figure out the sum of the grade of all my students in my class, all students in my class. So I know for sure. I got the input here, enter the number of students in your class. So think about, I enter the number, what is it? Enter the number 3 here. So for sure, the loop here will do it for 3 times, right? Because it's definite here, right? And of course, for any sum of the problem, so any program with a sum here, you only have to maintain accumulator. They call the accumulator. And for accumulator, remember that you have to initialize the accumulator to 0 before the loop, outside the loop. Right? And so see, for every grade you got it from the student, is added up to the accumulator here. That's why they call it accumulator. Right? Think about this one here. I enter the 3 number, that's 60. I have the 70 and the 80 here. Right? Now before the loop, I set the sum here equal to 0. So whenever I got it to the 60, right? Whenever I got the 60, I add it to the sum. So I have the 60 here. And then I move to the next student. I have the 70. I add it up to the 60 with 70. I have 130 here. And let's move on. Right? That's why they call it accumulator. So remember that whenever you do the accumulator, you have to set the accumulator to 0. You have to initialize to 0 before the loop, outside the loop here. Right? And after that, whenever you got the grade here, you just do it for the student here. We can run it for this program. I can run this program here. So think about, I enter the number 3 student here. Sorry. So we see I have the 60, I have the 70, I have 80, and I only have the grade here. Okay, so this one also figure out the grade. That's a very simple program. So for this one here, that is a definite loop because you know for sure how many iterations the program will execute here. It depends on how many students here, right? Okay. Now the second type loop, it is an indefinite loop. It is an indefinite loop here. This one. So for this one here, right? For this program here, okay. Also, we figured out the average of student here, right? But I'm not sure how many students here. I just keep doing it for the first one, the second one, the third one, until the grade of student is a number negative here, -1. Right? So I keep doing it, and there's a grade of student number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6. And if I want to exit the program, I just put a negative on number 1. Right? So for this program here, for every time I run, it's my run on different iteration, right? If I want to run for 2 students, I'm okay with that one. If 10, I'm okay with this one. Right? So you are the one who control how to access the loop for this one. I will go in detail about the definite loop and indefinite loop later, but for now, I just want to give you some of the introduction, the difference between the definite loop and indefinite loop here. And in the definite loop, you see that you have the condition here to check. They call it the sentinel value. Right? Sentinel value is that normally it's a value which never ever happen in the real life. You never ever have the student with the grade of -1. As they call it the sentinel value. Okay, so in the Python, if you want to run with it definite loop, that means you know for sure how many times you run. It's very simple when you run with a definite. You use a for function here. You use a for function, right? So think about this one. If you want to print out it's a line here for the for time, right? You see, you use the for function and with the view function range 4 here. Range 4 that means you will for the for time, right? 0, 1, 2, 3. 0, 1, 2, 3, the 4 time, and print out here. It print out the 4 time. Or this one. So see, when you use the for function here, you know that you want to do the 4 time. It print out it's a line, it's a line, it's a line, it's a line here. Right? And so the form of this type here, the form of this loop here is I have the 4 variable, right? In the range here, it's integer expression here. So we can do everything set number 1 and number 2 and so on here. And the first line of the code sometimes it calls the loop header. It only has the 4 is variable in the range. Okay, and the rest of the they call the loop body here. Everything here, right? Everything is inside here. They call the loop body. And this one it is a loop header. Okay, so now what do you think about this program? I have the number 2, exponent number 3, product number 1 here, and I have each part in the range equivalent. So what do you think if I want to, at the end of the program, if I want to print out, yeah, not this one. If I want to print out, yeah, I have to print out the product here. So what is the output of this program? What do you think? What is the output of this program? The first thing you have to figure out how many times the loop execute, how many iterations for this loop. First thing, how many iterations? How many iterations did this loop?
3.
Yeah, right? Because the exponent here, right? The exponent here, the 3. So actually you do the 3 times, right? And for each part in the range of exponent, I do it 3 times here. So the first product is number 1, right? Product here times the number. What's the number? Number 2, right? So we have the number 2 here, the first one. Print out the number 2. Now we move to the next one, next iteration, the second iteration. Now the new product equals the old product times the number. That is the old product, right? And times the number, you have the 4 here. Okay, that is the second output. And the last one, you do it one more time. That is that's the product here. And the product here, the 4, and times the number, the 2. The third time you have 8 here, right? So basically for this one, you print it out 2 for 8 here. Okay, and you product here. And it's the exponent is 0 because everything when you exponent to 0, it print out the product is remain number 1 here. Okay, so loop that count through the range of the number. You have the product number 1 for the count in the range from 0 to 4. In the range of 4 here, and you see for this one here. You see the reason that you have to count number 1 here because in the range it's always starting from 0, right? So it's always starting 0. That's why if you want to do something from 1, you add it to number 1 here. Or you can change it here, or you can change it to the range here. 1. 5 here. It do the same. It do the same. So you see the starting numbers of 1, 2, 3, and 4. Is that why it's automatic?
Oh, we're not moving enough? Oh, sense tricky
Yeah,
in here.
center. Okay.
Well, that's weird.
Okay, for this one,
Product times count.
okay, what do you think? What's the product for this one? For this one, what's the product here? For the second one?
Count and range, count.
Uh,
20, wait, it's 24.
Well,
No.
No, we have to remember that we can't do two in there. It has to be all three, right? We have to do start.
No, you
and
can
stop
do it.
instead. Because we just do.
This one is a start here, stop here, and by the default, if you do not have step, it will be 1. Okay.
Okay.
So what do you think? What is the product for this one?
One, two.
Yeah, 24.
24?
Yeah.
No.
I say 6.
No. What do you think for the second one? The first one you can choose it, right? Is the first one is very simple here. You have the product number 1, right? So have the time it. And the second one, what do you think? What is the second one here?
One, two, three.
So for this one here, right? So for this one, actually it execute everything from 1, 2, and 3 only. Right? It not includes the stop number here.
Oh, so it's 6.
Okay, yeah, actually it's 6 only. This one is 6 only, right? So see, for the product number 1 here, product time, the first one is 1 here, right? So the first iteration you have 1. Now you come again, you have a product now, the count number 2, so we have time 2, right? You have 2 here. And the third one, you go again, and now the count number 3, so we have number 3 here. You have 6 only for this one, right? That is that's what I mentioned. That's a common mistake when you work the range, that it never ever includes the stop number.
So if you want to include the 4,
You have to
stop
put
number
five.
would have to be 5.
Yeah, you have to put 5 here. So this one exactly the same as this one.
So make sure that your stop number is at least +1 above
Yes.
what the end result should be.
Yeah. So if you want to print out every number in range from the 0 to 100, you have to put the 101 here. Okay.
Okay, yeah, that seems like an easy track to follow in.
Okay. What is it? Lower and upper, right? So okay. So now you do the sum. You do the sum of everything in the range, right? In the range from the low, in the range from the low number, low bound to the upper. You see, if you do the upper bound here, you have to add 1 here, right? If you want to do the sum from the low until the upper here, you have to include the number 1 here. Add to the number 1 for this one. And of course, this one is the same. This one, you have to do the accumulator, the sum here, 0. You have to initialize to 0 before the loop. That's something. Okay. And augmented assignment, right? So you can have the sum of the shortcut in the Python here. It's very simple. This one here, right? So when you have a plus equal 3, actually it's a equal a plus 3, and a time equal 3 here, actually it's a equal to a time 3 here. So it is a little bit a shortcut on this one. Okay, here the sum of the common mistake here, right? If you want to count from 1 to 4, and we think that you can do the 4, the count in the range 1 to 4. Actually, it only print out 1 to 3 only, right? So if you want to print it out 1 to 4 here, actually you have to put number 5 here, not number 4. So yeah. It's a logic error. Okay, so normally it's a range. If you want to return the list there, right? So we have the list and you put the list before the range here. You have the in the list, you have the 4 elements here, 0, 1, 2, and 3 here. We learn about list later in the Python, in this class here. And you can think about string here. String also, right? String also, it has the list of the multiple character together here. Okay, so I think I already mentioned this one already. Mentioned this one. I try to expect you have the start and stop and the step here. Okay, the countdown also, right? You are totally flexible in the step. If by the default, it always if you do not have the step, it always by the default number 1. But you can define with any number, even a negative number to do the decrease here, countdown, right? Think about you are standing in the town square and you want to count down from number 1 to 0. You can do it here, 100 and 0 and -1 here. Okay, that one is the echo input that I mentioned in at the beginning of the class here. Right? So to make it more sense, for the output, normally you include the value of the input into the output prompt here. So think about this one here, right? So think about this program here. So it's an echo input includes the value the input variable into the output prompt. Right? So think about I have the program to figure out the area of the rectangle. I have the two input here. It's the length and the width here, right? So I can figure out the area is the of the length and the width is the 200 here, and I can use this. I can use it with the. So basically for this one, right? So I have the length 20 here, I have the 10 here, and the area of the rectangle is 200 here, right? And if I want to use the echo input, right? So normally I use the format function f here. I put the f for this one. The rectangle width here. The length. I put the bracket here, and I put the length. So when I put the bracket, the Python understands that this one is the value of variable. When you put a bracket here, understand it's the value of a variable length here you got from the input. And the width. Again, I want to put a bracket here. Is okay. So see if I run it again. I have the 20 here. I have 10 here. So see it makes more sense, right? It takes it out here. It takes it out number 20 from the input.
With that, why not just put the area inside the string also with the brackets?
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Okay. So we can put it here. Yeah, we can put it here. Okay, the same. Now, so what happens if I do this thing here? Yeah, I have something number, very odd number here. I have 10.15 here. Alright, so in that case, what it is? Yes, this one number is not look for me, right? If I want to round it up in the when I use the f function here, very simple. I put area here and I put if I want to take the 2 decimal, right? I put 0.2 f. So we will keep the 2 decimal number. So it's just 12 here, 204.12. So I have 20.11 again. And 15 again. Okay, so see this one is it keeps the only the decimal number. Right? So you see, I can see in the work you have multiple ways to do with the format in the output of the Python. You have many ways, but normally I prefer to use the app here. It's very simple and it looks very simple for me, and it's very easy for me to remember. Very simple. Yeah. So basically, when you put the bracket here, the Python understands the value of the variable, value of the variable, and value of variable, and you have double column, and that is the format here. You understand that you only need to take the two decimal number after the decimal point, a fraction of point. Okay, so you also have some of the way you have many way to do the output here. Some of the way you do the output is tabular format here. That you have a fixed with the pure width here, right? So that you want to clean out to make sure that every number have the width of the 10 character here. You can do it. You can do this one here, right? So basically you can see if you want to print out the number that its exponent is already from the 7 to 11 here, right? So remember that you have everything from 7 to 11, you have the 7, 8, and 9, 10 away, not include the number 11, right? And you want to print out the number exponent here on the left, and the 10 to the exponent here on the right. So see, by the default, they put them next together here. You see, for everything here, it looks good, right? From 7, 8, and 9 is good, but for this number 10 here, you have one more character, right? That's why it shifted to the right here. It's not look good for me. It's not look good for program here. So you have many ways to do that. You can use that. You can keep this one. You can justify this one on the left, right? On the first column here on the left, and you can justify here, and you keep the space on this one here. So we keep everything on this one on the right here. It looks way better for this one. Now we see how we do it here. So we have the format string and percentage and datum here. So you see for this one here, I have the percentage and -3. So whenever we have negative, that means it's justified on the left. It's certified on the left, right? So the number 3 here, that means I want to keep the width of the 3 character, right? We will keep the width of 3 character here. And on the right, for this one here, I have the percentage of 12 here is a positive. It's a positive here, right? So it justifies from, yes. Oh yeah, right, yeah. Let me quickly. Here, so here's the thing. Here's the thing here, right? So basically, this one you have the -3. That means you have the width of 3. You have the 3. You have the width of 3 character, and you justify it on the left here. On the left here, and this one, when you have the number 12 and 8 here, what is where it looks changed for me? It's correct or not?
It could be just because
It
it's
should be.
aerial.
It should be on this one side. Right? It should be on this side. Anyway, let me check with the screen. I see. What happened to this one? This one, right? Yeah, yes, that's why I raised the question. It looked very strange to me. Sorry for that. So basically for this one here. So basically for this one, right? You see, you have -3. That means you have the three character here, right? 3 that means 3 character, but negative that means justify on the left. Justified. And you have the positive here, that means justified on the right. And you have the maximum of the 12 character here. Right? So we see it look way better, right? It look way better for this one. So this one is not correct. This one, I don't know why. Maybe I have to copy this one. I put it here on next class. Way better. Yeah, the correct way is this one. Okay, so of course for the output here, format the text for the output. I said that you have many ways to do that. You have many ways to do that, and one of the ways is just one you can see on this one here. So if you want to keep this one only 2 decimal, you have the percentage here, percentage 0.2 and F, and the percentage of the variable here again. But again, I prefer to use F here. I think it's way easier for me. So you think about this one, I can use this. And this one. I put the bracket here. Yeah, I think that it's easier for me. But anyway, it's up to you. I just want to mention that we have many ways to do with the output here. Okay, so by this way, if you want to format it, only have the 2 digits after the decimal part. You have the 2 decimal here. Now, you know that we have the 2 types of the loop, right? The first one is definite loop, you know for sure. You have to know for sure how many iterations here. The second one, you can have the indefinite loop that you can do it again and again, and you have the condition to check it. Yeah. So that is a conditional iteration, and it works with the while here. And the while, so for every iteration of the loop, you have the condition to check. If the condition is correct, you keep doing it. Right? If the condition is not correct, you stop it here. So in the while loop here, in the while loop, it's a program input loop that accepts the value until the user enters the sentinel. And so the sentinel value is a value never ever happened in the real life. That is something I remember, right? In my example that I keep asking the user enter the grade, and of course the grade is always in the range from 0 to 100, right? So if I want to stop it, I have to enter the sentinel here, and sentinel I put the negative number 1 here, because you have never ever got a student with the negative grade here, -1 grade here. So if you look on the program, here. Okay, so you see, if you look on the program, this is the while loop here, right? Because you see the keyword while here, the while here, and in the while loop, you always have the condition to check. Right? You always have the condition to check, and you keep doing it until grade equal to the -1. You exit it. If not equal to -1, you keep doing it here. Right? So see, for this one, you are the one who control how to exit the loop. If you only have the 2 students, you might exit after the 2 students here, or you can do the 100 or 1000. You are the one who control the loop here. But remember, in the while here, you always have the condition to check, and the value of the condition, this one here, the code is sentinel here. That is the value never ever happened in the real life.
That's not a very comforting sound.
I know there is no motion sensor in this room to my knowledge. I think the light switch has for a while. I'll put it in.
Okay, so basically in the Python, right? The condition iteration require the condition to be tested within the loop to determine if it should continue. That called the call continuation condition. And the syntax here, you have the while, you only have the condition to check. And if correct, do the sequence of statement. If not, you access the loop here. Okay, in the while loop also called the entry control loop because you are the one who control. You are the one who enters the entry input, and you are the one who controls how to access the loop here. And the condition is set at the top of the loop. You check before the execution here. Yeah, so the structure of the while loop here, I see you have to check the condition. If it's true, if it's true here, right? Keep going to the statement and go back again and do it again and again and again, but not you access the loop here. Okay, so yeah, if you want to figure out the sum of enter number until user press the number 0, right? Think about this one here. Until the number, and press the enter here. Sorry, my mistake here. And press enter here. So we see for this one here, right? For this one, okay, this is the sum, right? Remember that whenever we do the loop, whenever we do the sum, you only have to maintain the accumulator. And the accumulator, you have to initialize the accumulator to 0 before the loop, right? And you got the data from the user, right? So see for this one here, the first step you have to get the input from user in order to have the condition here to check, right? That's why you have to check here. So you check, and now you've got the data from the number. Now you convert it to the float here, data here, and the data user add it to the accumulator here. And of course, after you done one iteration, you need to get the new data from the user to move to the next number here, right? So see, normally I think if you learn it from the SDEV 120, if you learn it from SDEV 120, the call this one is a from input here. From input. From input is the input you need to get it from user before the loop and to get it ready for the loop, right? So we see only when you got the data here from the user before the loop, you have the condition here to check. Otherwise, you have nothing to check here, right? So you see, if you delete this one, you have the syntax error. And so if you remember about the SDEV 120, the from input is the input you got from user. You got it before the loop, outside the loop, and you need to get that for the loop, right? So see, when you done everything with the, you have to need to get input again. But this is the next input here, the next input from user in order to check the data again, right? Okay, so the data is a loop control variable, and you keep get input from user until the user enter, push enter, press enter here. So you see when you have the press enter, that means you have nothing here, right? You have nothing here, that means the enter here. Now think about this one. If I have this program, and if I want to figure out the average on the enter number, how can I do it? If I have this program, what do you say? Think about this one. I open the program here. Okay, now this program here. Now, if I want to modify this program to figure out the average of all the number I enter, how will you modify it?
Have a counter. Wait.
Well, this one actually is a little bit different here. I don't know. I changed it, but this one I use a break here. But anyway, that's at this time you do not care. You don't have to care about break here. So basically, for this one, you can think about this one. It is a post check loop. So basically, if you learn about the loop, you have the two type. Again, you have two type loop. You have a pre-test loop and you have the post-test loop. The pre-test loop, that means you check the condition before you do the loop, and the post-test loop, that means you check the condition after you do, right? So for this one, you just make sure you get the input from user and you check again. So if the data equal to the enter break, that means you access loop. You access the loop here. So now think about this one. If I want to modify this program in order to get the average of all the number I enter, what do you have to do? What do you have to do for this one? What do you think? What do you have to do for this one?
The simplest would be just to make a counter. like
Yeah,
a
right.
count
Right.
Variable.
So in order to figure out the average, right? You need to know how many number. You know the sum here, right? You know the sum here. But in order to figure out the average, you need a counter. You need to know how many number you added, right? So in that way, you have to maintain one counter. It's a number of the number here. So basically, you can modify it, right? You can modify the count. And of course, at the beginning, it's a 0, right? So every time, right? Every time you got a new number, you have a count. Sorry. This one, right? And let's and lastly, if you want to find out the average, you will take the sum, you divide by the count. That's all, right? So I think that's all for today. So we see that we have we have the 2 weeks for only one chapter. That's why I want to take time here. I do not want to go fast here. So anyway, we have many time with this class. So anytime if you have any question or you need any help from me, just let me know. So any question for today? No.
Nope.
Okay. So I see you guys on Thursday. Okay. Let me check the attendance here. Sorry, my last day. Hunter, are you here?
I sure am.
Okay. Riley, are you here? Daniel, are you here?
Yeah. Yes.
Juan, are you here?
Yeah.
John here. Adam here. Here. Scott, are you here?
Yes.
Snyder, are you here?
Present.
Okay. Gabe, are you here?
Yep.
Okay, so I see you guys on Thursday.
Okay.
Scott, can you stay back? No.
You got it again.
Did it?
Yes. So we'll have to talk with him. Can you print off more?
Did he just like scribble?
Yes, keep this in our office. We give this to Justin our meeting semester. But can you print off more something I do?
Yeah.
Also. A few things. 60 out of our like 90 computers that are in. Let's keep that in the office so it doesn't get taken again. 60, almost 60 out of our 90-ish computers in masseuse.
It's not.
Haven't checked in
Hi,
since
Scott. Yeah.
Saturday after they were in. So go figure it out with masseuse server admin.
You guys want to know something really cool?
Yes.
In every country except for the United States, 5G is significantly faster than Wi-Fi.
That's America.
Because we're guessing we have Wi-Fi.
We're not set up for 5G.
But it's 4 man's 5G. Me too, yeah.
All right, I'll go figure out what suits.
Yeah, you just try to find a pattern. It's just that there's not all the Crawfordsville machines or all of the one room.
Oh, it's just
It's
inconsistent.
just, yeah, I don't know what the pattern, there's no obvious pattern. So,
Hey, Cole,
yes, who said that?
just letting you know there's something really weird with the back wall camera. I don't know if it's just how it's positioned right now.
You're looking at it the front camera. So.
I mean, presumably, the back one's just down.
I'm seeing the whiteboard.
What?
We'll figure it out next time. What, Wes, why aren't you in class?
Anyway, I have to go now, so.
I've got some stuff I've got to do that I got to be home for.
No problem.
Alright. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.